I'm having these little chats, and because I'm an orderly person, not a medical orderly, hilarious. Well, I did a law degree, so I'm a fan of categories and whatnot. We're having a medical moment, because there's an awful lot of medics end up, or, you know, as well as going into comedy. I mean, Harry Hill, but nowadays, I think the stratospheric success of Adam Kay, I mean, is it now basically the talk of the doctor's room in every hospital, like, you know, all you need to do is basically get a strong 5 minutes, and then you write a book about, you know, giving rectal examinations. Job done. I mean, why did you? Because you're a doctor, emergency. No, it's only because Benji here is just a small, you know, he's really no use to man nor beast. He's making up numbers. If I had a heart attack now, I would die before he got...
Come to me.
Oh, yeah, right, okay.
I do a lot of heart attacks.
You're a fan of heart attacks?
I am, yes.
They keep you in what?
It's like, yeah. So if you have to have somebody next to you to have a heart attack, please choose an intensive care and an anesthetic doctor. Here we go.
Wow. Oh, so you're an anesthetist?
Yes, an intensivist, yes. So yes, I don't understand anything about the mind, I suppose. But
with most people,
well,
you're not missing anything, quite frankly.
People trying to die in front of me, I can manage pretty well.
I mean, I suppose it's an intense situation, but presumably you don't spend half your professional life looking at people on vents going, this is hilarious, I must write it down.
Are we recording already?
Oh, we are, yeah. Oh,
now you can leave.
Now, I have to say that medicine is an incredible source of good material for comedy. Forgive my patience. Having said that, I have also experienced that patients and the rest of the medics absolutely love when you have a more like a lighter attitude and a more comedic spirit. I think it works miracle. I have like endless examples of like people that just feel better or they trust you more. If you actually need to be lighter and you can make a joke, of course, I'm not there with my mic.
Yes.
I thought about that. I thought about that.
And now.
I mean, I did have recently a patient actually said, "Oh, wow, doctor, you have a really good sense of humor to be a doctor." And I thought, shall I invite him to my show?
Absolutely. Please welcome to the ward.
I know. Well, I was about to do an invasive procedure, so I just thought, you know, how is this going to land? Yes, I got a show, and now can I just do something in your neck?
I love that. It's not euphemistic language, but the technical language of medicine. Things like, it's a slightly invasive procedure. And you go, okay, you're going to ram what, where? But I love it that you've come frocked up.
Oh, we're trying. We're trying to get into the role.
So you are... Well, she's hovering by the beeping monitors.
I'm training in orthopedics, so it's all a lot of bones and joints and stuff like that.
I need you to come and see my dad. He's got a dodgy knee.
Oh, we can sort something out.
I know lots of doctors, and it's one of the things that they hate. The minute you go, I'm a doctor. Oh, really? Because my back is killing me.
It just twinges at that moment, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So do you get a lot, give free advice?
Yeah, usually it's call your GP. That's the advice I give.
Excellent.
That's the advice. Call your GP. Let him or her. But no, like if I can be helpful, I will be helpful. I'm not that facetious, you know. Like if I can help someone.
Also, I don't know. I don't quite know what it's like up in Edinburgh, but in London, call your GP is the equivalent of saying get an audience with the Pope. I mean, it is that difficult.
Yeah, it is, and obviously topically, Rishi Sunak wants to punish people that, you know, don't make appointments.
What?
Oh, he came out recently saying that it's going to be £10 fine if you have a GP appointment that you don't make.
Right? I don't know, wow.
Oh, wow. That's
the man
topical.
Is... Well, I suppose...
Well, we're up to date here, man.
I mean, let's face it, if you are spending your wife's family's billions, you can afford to miss a lot of GP appointments.
Right, that's true.
But you...
Yes.
I'm going to take a wild guess and say that you might be slightly Italian.
Slightly.
Slightly.
I am full Italian.
Full Italian.
Although I'm also British now. Congratulations.
Ah, well done.
To me, yes. But yes.
I have spent a lot of time in Italy. My cousin's in Italy. With medicine in Italy, they love to treat people. You know, you can kind of go in going, not really quite feeling myself today. Next thing you know, you've got intravenous antibiotics, a brain scan, Lord knows what. You're very full on. We're
very maternal. But yes, there is a tendency sometimes.
And so did you train over there?
I did both, actually. So I did my undergraduate study in Italy, and then I did my specialty study here in England. Some hybrid. I never really worked in Italy, actually.
Right. And what drew you professionally to the almost dead people?
Sorry, I shouldn't laugh. I just thought that that's such an intense question. How am I going to answer? What do I do? I mean, I'm really blessed because actually it's a beautiful type of work when you have the responsibility of somebody's life in your hands, very practically speaking, and that happens on a daily basis. So you think quickly, you access algorithms in your mind, you have a bit of gut instinct, which is usually the result of years of training and
that sounds like the skill set for a stand-up comic.
Right, exactly. It's like what you feel backstage before you go on stage can be very similar when you got somebody's life in your hands. It's a pretty accurate metaphor. So it's good because I'm kind of used to.
Well, I hope your audiences appreciate it. Now, when was the last? I saw Benji, who is, there are some people when they walk on a stage, you think, oh, they're going to be funny. The young Benji was a lot of years ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
In a heat of So You Think You're Funny. And you just go, he just looks too nice to be a stand-up comic. And he was very kind of gentle, and you thought, oh, he's just a lovely man. He couldn't put, he'd be killed in the rough and tumble of stand-up. But he was so. Are you still that funny?
Well,
or have
I've
you
not
gone
been
off
doing
the boil
comedy.
a bit?
I've been doing following the Adam Kay model, as you said. I've been writing a book, writing a TV adaptation, not doing comedy so much. But more set in my book is a fly on the padded wall account of the mental health world. But that busts some myths like there are no padded walls, stuff like that.
Yes. Do you find it... Okay, how would you... I was going to ask a very judgmental question there, now, and a leading question, and I'm not going to. I'm just going to ask a simple question. How do you feel about the tsunami of acronymic, spectrum-based, I get a bit twitchy when I have to make my mind up quickly, mental health issues that we're now submerged in. I am like the only person in Edinburgh who doesn't have an ADHD diagnosis.
Yeah.
I'm feeling very left out.
Well, you were the one, I think, said when we first came in, you like order, you like classification.
Yep.
And I think that's the seduction, right, of a label. People, it explains away why life is hard a lot of the time. And people are very seduced by that. But I think, there's been a widening of if you think how many, there were only 50 mental disorders back in the 50s, there's now more than 400.
Yeah.
So some people think we're just over-medicalising everyday life.
Yes.
And there's a strong argument for that, certainly. And then I guess in the comedy world, it does feel like we're hearing from a lot of people with certain disorders, and certainly disorders come in and out of fashion. And you hear about management telling acts to brand their show neurodiverse or whatever, and that's a bit cynical, isn't it? Because I guess it waters down what it really means to actually have one of those diagnoses.
If everyone's got one, then and sometimes, unhindered by any medical knowledge whatsoever, but quite a lot of prejudice, you do think, no, you're just an arse, and whatever diagnosis it is that somebody's given you is basically your excuse for being an arse. You're not agreeing
that's
with
your answer.
Well, I mean, how do you...
Ooh, it's a different one because there are different diagnoses where, you know, like, for example, I think it's antisocial this is going into his territory, but antisocial personality disorder or borderline personality disorder. So those are personality disorders where being an arse comes into that sort of realm, and that's just part of their diagnoses and stuff. But
no one's fishing for those ones. There are ones that are more or less desirable. No one ever comes in wanting an antisocial personality disorder, a borderline, but they do come in, and this is a strange thing that I've observed is, well, it used to be the case where you would tell a patient, it's good news, I don't think you have an illness, but now some people will get furious if you're telling them the bad news that they are just normal, fine.
Absolutely.
And that is a slightly curious thing. But I think this is what happens, you know, society swings quite clumsily sometimes. We were very stigmatised about mental health. We've now sometimes at risk of overshooting into glamorisation territory.
And not, as I say, it's kind of a catch-all, you know, I'm on the spectrum. We're all on the fucking spectrum, for God's sake. You know, there's no need to make a song and dance, or indeed an Edinburgh show about it. But it's that, I mean, obviously not people who are dangling by a thread if it wasn't for your skills. But I think in a lot, even in something like, you know, orthopods, people don't want to know you've got bad posture. That's why you've got a sore back. They want to know, I've got impacted discs or something. They want for it not to be their fault. You know, it's, and if you're ill, if the doctor has said, then it's not your fault. You're not just lazy or bad posture or old or whatever. You've got a thing, and it's, you know, more prevalent when you're talking about mental health, because you can't take an X-ray of it.
That's the distinction, isn't it? Exactly. So Michael could very easily just do an X-ray for his guys and say, oh, actually, you don't have a broken leg, and that's the end of it. But in mental health, we are still missing those biological markers, origins, if they even exist, for these things we call mental illness. So until we discover them, we're always going to have this grey area of whether or not people have.
Or whether they just need a smack. That's my Scottish upbringing. How did you decide that? Are you always going to be a doctor who's funny, or is the doctoring going to stop if you get, you know, live at the Apollo?
But that's the thing. Where do I get my material from?
So the same.
It's cynical. It's cynical. It's difficult because you build they kind of just came in tandem together, in truth. Like, I started comedy after starting working, and that just came about. People say, oh, Michael, you're funny, you've got a bit of banter, you've got jokes. And I said, oh, the best way to see that, I thought, was in a stand-up comedy format where the audience doesn't know who I am, has no context, and I have to provide the setup and the punch. When you're talking to friends, everyone's got a bit of context, got a bit of nostalgia. It's very easy to make your friends laugh, but it's a lot more difficult to make strangers laugh. So I did that, and I've been doing it ever since. So.
And how long is ever since?
5 years now.
Wow.
5
and
years
this is your first Edinburgh?
Yeah, debut. Yeah.
Is this your first Edinburgh?
Yes, my debut.
There's a lot of cherries being popped.
No, most definitely.
Comedy cherries. Or who am I to say? But at this Edinburgh, there's loads.
There's a backlog, isn't there?
Of
newbies.
Backlog. Would you have come before if it hadn't been for COVID?
I would ideally have come last year, no COVID. So
last year was just a joy. It was a Fringe. It was just lovely. I mean, you've knocked about for a bit, so you know how the whole atmosphere of the Fringe has changed, and it's much more I don't know what the word, horrible is one word that springs to mind, but it's much more commercially driven. It's more of an industry fair. What, as newbie, how many hours have you done?
I've not even done, I was one of those people, I was meant to do my hour before the pandemic happened, and then I've just got a bit preoccupied with these other. It's funny how things work out. In the lockdown, I then got these other opportunities, so I've been doing them. So now it's crazy. I haven't even done my debut yet. And you're doing yours. Yeah.
Your cherry is going to be popped.
Well, I'm doing, I think, hopefully next year, but just by the time I submitted my book to my publishers, which was only like 2 weeks ago.
You're up here as a hanger-on.
Well, my show is just road testing the book stuff to see if it's funny on the stage. Yeah.
What happens if it isn't?
Well, it's a work in progress. You know, I'm going to write a one-star review in the Scots.
What are you wanting out of your first Edinburgh?
Wow, such a question. Yeah, my mother asked me that question too. Well, so much.
What would you like?
So much. And I know this is going to sound very much like I haven't thought about this, but the truth is I've thought about this every single day in the last 12 months. So
that's lovely.
I guess I'm really ambitious. And so the show is fairly new. It's been a year since I created it, and this is my debut solo. So I've been an actress for 10 years now, been doing plays, ensemble, filming, commercial, etc. So this is the first time I'm doing a solo show, and I've been touring for 6 months. So the expectations on myself, from myself, are quite high. But also this show means a lot to me because there is something, and obviously already your experience as well, about how vulnerable you are when you play yourself. Although I do use a bit of character comedy, but every single bit of my show is a hybrid between stand-up and theatre and storytelling. All the stories they come from a very truthful place. So it's extremely vulnerable place to be. So I feel extremely attached to this show, and I can't wait to share. And I feel also, I'm just in love with the audience. I feel like this is amazing. And I have to say, and I know this is going to sound very cliche, but there's nothing I've ever experienced as empowering as be able to have your own voice in art and on stage. And that, I think, forgive me for that, but please also accept it and welcome that, especially for a woman. And especially if that woman is a migrant. So for me, this means a lot to have people that are there and they want to listen to my story. So I'm ultra excited, and book me live at Apollo at some point, please.
Wow, I don't think I have ever felt so immediately, fiercely protective of a show in Edinburgh ever. But if anyone comes to your show and doesn't give you everything that you want from your audience, take a photograph, set me on them. They will rue the day that they messed with you. Go. Be lovely to this woman. Give her everything she wants. Moving on. Please, if you're going to be emotional, I might have to stop and have a drink of water.
Give me a warning shot. Give me a little heads up.
My withers are comprehensively wrong, and I didn't even know I had withers anymore. What's...
you know, it's just proving to myself that I can do it. Like I told
that's a great reason.
I told people all the time, comedy's a hobby which is just now getting out of control. And now this hobby's taking me to the prestigious Edinburgh Fringe. And it's just proving to myself that, yeah, you can perform for an hour. Yes, you can tell your story. Yes, you can have a point of view which you get across in a intelligent but humorous way. And I just hope that people leave my show having a different perspective on how they see medicine and people within it as well.
And you've been doing the comedy for 5 years, so 100%. You've got the skills, you've got the skill set.
Yeah, most definitely.
You've got 5 years of broken legs and hilarity with dislocations.
Oh, most definitely.
And what is wonderful is, I think, I hope this doesn't sound patronising, is that you've let it kind of happen organically. Because I think there's a lot of... I can't believe I just said organically. So sorry. I'm so ashamed of myself there. But I think there's an awful lot of people here who go straight from doing a 10-minute unpaid spot to taking that 10 minutes of material and bringing it up here with 30 minutes of waffle.
Well, those are people with money to waste, and I didn't have money to waste, so I had to make sure the material was just right.
And
So
maybe next year we'll get the magnum opus.
For me, that's the plan, yeah. But for now, for now, I guess I'm just going to see, hopefully the stuff is good. If it's not, it's too late because it's with the publishers and the TV guys already. But
oops.
But yeah, I guess I'm just continue banging my drum to try and raise the profile of mental health, of what we call serious mental illness. That's what I do, because I look up people with schizophrenia, who are generally the most disabled people in sight, and yet they're the most non-talked about and forgotten, which is a cruel irony, really. And and also I just think, I'm just trying to get that parity between physical and mental health. And as you say, people will happily laugh about the shopping list of things found at people's bodily orifices, but they are a bit squeamish about mental health comedy.
Because they don't understand it. You know, you can't see it, you can't... And the psychoses, if you're not psychotic, the idea... it's difficult to imagine being broken from reality. You know, you can't go, oh, that must be agony. It's such a foreign state to be in.
And when you are psychotic, that's the other cruel irony is you think you're fine.
Yeah.
So, and that's the other slightly interesting thing as a psychiatrist is as distinct from a medical doctor is when I used to do medicine, my patients would come to me and they'd be wanting my help, but now I just chase my patients around London. And they really don't want me to be involved.
The lack of insight, isn't it?
Yeah, because insight is the thing.
Yeah. So now, should anyone have, obviously heart attacks, they come to you.
Please.
Broken bones, they'll come to you. Where and when? I think this is rather a clever way to ask you when and where your show's on.
With a heart attack or without?
Well, either.
So come anyway.
So where can they find you?
So I'm just next door at the subatomic room at the Justotonic nucleus. 3:10 every day, starting from the 4th, except the 15th.
So, and you're here for the full...
I am indeed.
The full duration.
Yes.
Excellent. And what are you going to do when you're not on stage? You're going to see other stuff? Got to see him?
I will, of course. I mean, again, I absolutely love to go and see other people and see it, and definitely I'll see my colleagues.
So you two have got to go and see her and be
and vice versa, and bring people.
Yes. Michael, where, when?
Yes, Pleasance Courtyard, down in the cellar, 8:35 every day from the 3rd to the 28th, bar the 16th.
The cellar's a great venue.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Wonderful venue. No, that would be great.
No, looking forward to it.
Okay, when's the book coming out? Adam Kay, I'm holding you personally responsible.
I know. Another medical memoir, I know. It's coming out summer next year. That one's called You Don't Have to Be Mad to Work Here. And my show, if you're interested in that...
Oh, very gripped.
That is at the Caves, Justotonic, the fancy room, and that's at 12:50.
And you're not reading from the...
I think I'm not... I'm not going to read from the bits. I'm going to try and have it come out. I'm just going to say it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Excellent. No, he's
I love that.
You can't not... Even though it's work in progress, he's one of these people that's just very... because I've seen it, very likeable on stage. And then, of course, we can look forward to the television series of the book.
About 10 years later,
yeah. Either of you two planning a book?
No, but if a publisher likes what they see, then you can sort something out.
This is a great shot window.
A planning TV series.
Well, let's talk business.
Yeah.
Well, absolutely.
Let's talk business.
Just as they'll be turning the cameras off in a section, can anyone get hold of any good drugs?